Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and we have quorum now, and I'll call the 36th meeting of the Executive Committee to order. And I want to welcome all the members of the committee, and there'll be some members of council, I'm sure, joining us today, and of course the members of the public and the media who are with us. And I'll begin by acknowledging the land that we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And we acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Because it is proximate to the very sad passing of Gordon Chong, who was a member of the Metropolitan Toronto Council, was the chair and member of many city boards, both in the context of Metro as it was and our city. I would ask if you'd just stand for a moment of silence in memory of Gordon Chong. Thank you very much. Gordon was not only, of course, a great civic volunteer and an elected official and many other things, but he was also one of the pioneers when it came to the Chinese Canadian community and being involved in the political process, and was somebody that was very much a fixture of city building in Toronto. And so I extend on behalf of the members of the committee and on behalf of the members of council and all the people of Toronto our condolences to Shirley and to his family on the occasion of his very unfortunate passing. I will remind people that they can watch us on YouTube at Toronto City Council Live, or follow the meeting on their computer, tablet, or smartphone at www.toronto.ca/council. And I'll move to asking if there are any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and if so, please indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. Are there any declarations of interest this morning? Councillor Pasternak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Out of abundance of caution, I'll declare an interest in EX 36.24 Toronto Public Library, as although on leave, technically my wife is still an employee of Toronto Public Library.
Thanks, Councillor Pasternak. Any other declarations of interest this morning? Okay, may I have a motion to confirm the minutes of the Executive Committee meeting of June 19th, 2018, and moved by Councillor McMahon. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. The clerk has informed me that we have two requests to add new business. The first proposed item is entitled Coordination between the TTC and Metrolinx Board. You have that item before you on pink paper. I think the only guy that doesn't have it is me. Is it here? Oh, there it is, under there. It's lurking underneath here. There it is. So I have it too. And we have that, and I just at this moment in time will have a motion, if I could, to add this item to the agenda. Moved by Councillor DeGiorgio. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. So we'll discuss that later. And then the second one is entitled Next Steps to Acquire Surplus LCBO Site at 11 Brock Avenue for Affordable Rental Housing. And this item too is in front of us on pink paper, and it's right here. It looks like that. And so if I could just have a motion for now then to add this item to the agenda, moved by Councillor McMahon. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. So that gives us a total of 50. And even 50 items on the agenda today. So let's proceed with the rundown of those items. And if you want to hold an item, of course, please state your name and ask to hold it. And for items with deputants, I will hold those items. So starting with item EX 36.1, Vision Zero Road Safety Plan, Accelerations and Contract Amendments. Pardon me? Oh, okay, it doesn't say that here, but there is one now. Okay, I'm sorry, there is actually on this, it's not noted on the agenda, but there is one deputation on that. Okay, so we'll hold that for deputations. Item 36.2, Toronto Police Service Action Plan is being held for deputations. Item 36.3, progress report on the new consolidated police facility on I need this one though, because it's already annotated for other reasons, so sorry, thank you. So 36.3, the progress report on the new consolidated police facility at 1627 Danforth Avenue, moved by Councillor McMahon. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.4. Hold. That's being held by Councillor Thompson. Okay, being held by Councillor Thompson. Item 36.5, equity-related council advisory bodies. Motion to approve the recommendations contained in the report. Moved by Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.6, status of the transfer of Toronto Community Housing Corporation uninhabitable houses to non-profit housing providers. Moved by Councillor Bylaw to accept the recommendations in the report, to receive the report rather. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.7, additional property tax and legislative change options is being held for deputations. Item 36.8, amendment to Schedule A Financial Control Bylaw, Chapter 71, Authority for Solid Waste Management Services Research Initiatives or Projects. May I have a motion from Councillor Crawford to adopt the recommendations in the report? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. On item 36.9, payment card industry compliance and record management, in response to some correspondence received from the Privacy Commissioner, I have a motion which, if we could put it up on the screen, if people are satisfied with this, we can adopt the recommendations in the report as amended by this motion. And it really is just responsive to some concerns raised by the provincial Privacy Commissioner. Are people content they can read this and proceed to adopt the recommendations in the report, or do they want to put it over? Okay, well then I'll ask for a motion to approve this amendment recommended by staff. That's moved by me, and I'll call the question on the amendment if I can. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then the item as amended. Don't need to do it. It's done. Okay, so that just changes the recommendations. Thank you. 36.9 done. 36.10. Toronto Local Appeal Body request for, that shouldn't say composition, it should say compensation increase and appointment of a vice chair. Motion to adopt the recommendations contained in the report, moved by Councillor DiGiorgio. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.11, excuse me, city consent to first mortgage financing by Toronto Artscape against the community performance space at 301 Adelaide Street West. A motion to adopt the recommendations in the report, moved by Councillor Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.12, award of negotiable request for proposal for provision of program registration and recreation facilities space booking system. And this would, I would look for a motion to adopt the recommendations contained in the report, moved by Councillor McMahon, Chair of the PF&R Committee. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.13, Metrolinx Union Station Enhancement Project, Package 1 Implementation and Package 3 Review. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the recommendations contained in the report. Moved by Councillor Deputy Mayor Menon Wong. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.14, Property Taxes 2019 Interim Levy Bylaw. This is a report coming from the Interim Chief Financial Officer. May I have a motion from Councillor Crawford adopting the recommendations contained in the report? It's a fairly straightforward thing we do each year, of course. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.15. Toronto Community Housing Corporation mortgage refinancing. This is a report again coming from the Interim Chief Financial Officer. Councillor Crawford will move the adoption of the recommendations contained in this report, which will save us money over time. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.16, the capital variance report for the 5-month period ended May 31st, 2018, a report coming from the Interim Chief Financial Officer. And if I can have a motion from Councillor Crawford to adopt the recommendation of the report. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.17, operating variance report for the 5 months ended May 31st, 2018. Again, this is coming from the Interim Chief Financial Officer, Councillor Crawford, the Budget Chief, prepared to move that. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.18, Reserves and Reserve Funds Variance Report, May 31st, 2018. Again, coming from the Chief Financial Officer, moved by Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.19, Development Charge Reserve Fund Statement, coming from the Interim Chief Financial Officer, moved by Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The Supply Chain Management Transformation Project, item 36.20, it's a capital budget reallocation request. Again, coming from the Interim CFO, moved by the Budget Chief, Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.21, capital construction budget increases for Bendale Acres Child Care Centre and Toronto Community Housing Corporation Lawrence Orton Child Care Centre. And this is being brought forward by the Acting General Manager, Children's Services. May I have a motion to approve the recommendations in the report? Moved by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.22, capital repair and remediation cost of 2017 flooding of waterfront parks. There's a recommendation here, and may I have a motion to approve the recommendations in the report from the Chair of Parks, Forestry and Recreation, Councillor McMahon. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Pardon me again. EX 36.23, Solid Waste 2018, Operating and Capital Budget Adjustments. Report coming from Solid Waste Management Services. Motion to accept the recommendations in the report, moved by Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.24, Councillor Pasternak. This is the one I think on which you have a conflict. And Councillor Crawford, I believe, has a motion on this.
Yeah, is the motion ready?
Yes, I saw it. So
It's a technical motion from staff.
So there's the motion. That's a technical motion just to
The money's conditional upon, it's
make
all
sure we make it
conditional.
conditional on receiving
They don't get
partner
the money,
funding. And it, I think, puts in, yeah, so I think that's what that does. So you're moving the technical amendment?
Yep.
So may I have a vote on, call the question on the amendment moved by Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I think that substitutes for the recommendation. We don't need to. Item as amended. Item as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Pasternak. Item 36.25, Toronto Water 2018 capital budget and 2019-27 capital plan adjustments. This is coming from the Acting General Manager, Toronto Water, moved by Councillor Crawford. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.26, Transportation Services 2018 capital budget adjustments. Report coming from General Manager Transportation. Motion to adopt the recommendations contained.
So I'll have a technical amendment on that. I don't know if it's ready, Mr. Mayor.
There's a technical amendment on the transportation budget adjustments. Is that ready? Do we know? It is. There it is. It's up there, so you can see. What does that do, Councillor Crawford, just so people know? Does it change the amount, or?
Just changing some amounts around.
Okay. So there's a modest technical amendment on this, item 36.26. May I have call the question on the amendment moved by Councillor Crawford? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item is amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.27. Creating 606 affordable and 422 mid-range rental homes in Toronto, results of the 2018 open door call for applications. This is a report coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, and the recommendations in the report are moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. Are there all those in favor?
There's one recommendation, Mr. Mayor, that asks the Director of the Affordable Housing to report to Executive Committee, and it needs to report to Council. Are you sure?
And that would be, do we know which one that is? I'm just looking, casting my eye down here.
Mayor Tory, I'd like to hold that
Want to hold it?
for my colleague, Councillor.
Oh, fine. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see you there, Madam Speaker. So, okay, we'll hold 3627 then, and we can find that amendment clause while we do that. Item 36.28, creating new purpose-built affordable rental homes in R6 Bayside Waterfront District. It's a recommendation coming from the Affordable Housing Committee. So may I have a motion from Deputy Mayor Bylaw to approve the recommendations from the Affordable Housing Committee? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.29, support for up to 72 new affordable rental homes at Create TO's 4620 Eglinton Avenue West and 250 Wincott Drive. This again is coming from the Affordable Housing Committee. You move it or you hold it?
I will move it.
Move it. Thank you, Councillor Shiner. Moves item 36.29. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.30. Open door funding for 300 new nonprofit affordable ownership homes at 253 Markham Road and 12, 20, and 30 Dunelm Street. Again, coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.31. Open Door Affordable Housing Program 2017 Annual Activity Report. And there's a recommendation simply to receive the report coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.32, Housing Opportunities Toronto Action Plan 2020 to 2030 Directions Report. This is a report coming from the Affordable Housing Committee with recommendations. Deputy Mayor Bylaw moves the recommendations from the Affordable Housing Committee. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.33, supporting new transitional housing for youth at 212 Epsom Downs Drive. And this, again, is coming from the Affordable Housing Committee with recommendations moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.34, property tax relief for new affordable rental homes created through the Regent Park revitalization. Again, it's part of the Affordable Housing Program. These are recommendations coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.35, progress on Toronto's participation in Ontario Development Charges Rebate Program for non-luxury rental housing. I believe Councillor Bylaw has a motion.
Yes.
All right, and we got that ready. There it is. Do you want to just tell us what, just deleting recommendation
We're just deleting
four.
recommendation 4, yeah.
Okay. If there's any questions of the mover or anything else, otherwise we can move to vote on the amendment that recommendation 4 as part of this 36.35 be deleted. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then the item as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That takes us to item 36.36, development charges deferral update to the city's home ownership assistance program. Again, recommendations coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.37, feasibility of acquisition or expropriation of 214, 218, 220, 222, 224, 226, and 230 Sherbourne Street. The suggested disposition here is the adoption of the recommendations coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I should just say at the end of all that string of items, we will be coming back to one, but I want to take note, as I did with the media this morning, this represents a huge step forward, and again, it's not enough, and we're going to be working harder to do more, but I think just what was approved in those items, save and except the one that will be discussed further, is the achievement of the annual target for 2018 and then some, and it's still in need of more effort, but I think it's a showing how committed I think that the Housing Committee, the Council, the City have been to addressing affordable housing in a more meaningful fashion and meeting and exceeding our own city set targets for many years ago that weren't met for so many years, and I just think that's very significant, and since we won't be discussing these individually because we've just approved a lot of them, I think it's worth noting that. Item 36.38, potential rooming house property acquisition and modernization in Ward 14, Parkdale High Park. This is a recommendation coming from the Affordable Housing Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.39, service agreements awarded and executed by the Medical Officer of Health for 2018. The suggested disposition coming from the Board of Health is to adopt the recommendations of the Board to receive the report. May I have a motion to receive the report? Moved by, somebody has to move this. Moved by, we have people voting. Moved by Councillor DiGiorgio. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 3640, accessible affordable housing, Toronto Accessibility Advisory Committee Working Groups update. And there is not a recommendation coming from the advisory committee here, but it concerns the both involvement of stakeholders and proactive consultation on some changes in this area. It didn't come with a recommendation, but I'm asking for a motion to approve the recommendations contained in the report.
I would move the recommendations from the committee, Mayor Tory.
Move the recommendations of the committee. Councillor Shiner. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.41, Persons with Disabilities Employment Strategy, Toronto Accessibility Advisory Committee Working Groups update. Similarly, it did not come with a recommendation. There are recommendations we have in front of us. In this case, developing an employment strategy for persons with differing abilities. And is there someone willing to move that recommendation? Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36, EX 36.42, Accessibility Advisory Committee, City of Toronto Public Appointments. Again, there are some specific recommendations about candidate qualifications and making sure we have participation of persons with disabilities and some information sessions to improve outreach on that. So that is the recommendation they sent to us. Is someone prepared to move those recommendations? Councillor McMahon. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.43, Wheel-Trans appeals process. Again, there's a recommendation coming from the committee that there be a review of the process for Wheel-Trans appeals, improving communication, and providing a report to the Accessibility Advisory Committee in the first quarter of 2019. Do I have a mover for those recommendations? Councillor McMahon, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.44, the Missing Persons Investigation Review Working Group, the terms of reference and the budget. I have a motion on that, if the clerk would be kind enough to put that up. It simply deals with the fact that the council will be asked to approve the $3 million total budget for the review, which will take a period of time, and that it be increased pursuant to advice we've received from the experts that are going to be involved of the $600,000 over the previous council decision, and it names a source of funding for the tax rate stabilization from the tax rate stabilization reserve, and that part of this will be covered in each of probably the 2019 and for sure 2020, just because the report will be concluded and submitted to us and to the police board in 2020. So that is the motion amending recommendation 1. I've moved that. I'll call the question on that. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then the item as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item EX 36.45, Police Reference Check Program, Establishment of Criminal Record and Judicial Matters Check Process and Proposed Fee. This is coming from the Chair of the Toronto Police Services Board and oh, there is a deputation on that one, okay. That'll be held for deputations. Item 36.46, the way forward, first quarter update for 2018 coming from the Police Services Board. There's a recommendation here that the Executive Committee receive this report for information. Moved by Councillor McMahon. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36.47, Toronto Transit Commission 2018 mid-year workforce increase. This is a decision, that recommendation that is coming from the, or report coming from the head of Commission Services for the TTC, talking about improving the workforce by 184, most of which are operators, and also approving the increase in Wheel-Trans by 25 positions to take account of demand. And all the details are the subject of a confidential report. Is there a mover for the recommendations coming from the TTC? One of our members of the TTC, all those, Councillor DeGiorgio, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item 36.48, create TO recruitment of a chief executive officer. There's the disposition of this report is to receive it for information. That's the recommended disposition. May I have a mover to receive this report for information? Councillor Deputy Mayor Bylaw, all those in favor, opposed, carried. And then if people are ready, we can see what's up with the two items that were added as new business. The first being item, what I guess will be 3648, or 49, I guess it is. The TTC item, 36.49, which is the TTC item on pink paper concerning the representations to the provincial government, and talks about an exchange of board members between the TTC and Metrolinx, mutual exchange. So that's what's recommended in this item. You're on the TTC, Deputy Mayor Min Wong. Moved by Deputy Mayor Min Wong. All those in favor, opposed, carried. And then finally, the report that was put on as new business this morning, item 36.50, next steps to acquire surplus LCBO site at 11 Brock Avenue for affordable rental housing. And I'm presuming that you've seen this, Councillor Deputy Mayor Bylaw, and you'll move it. Moved item 36.50. All those in favor?
Hold it.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Hold that item, please.
Councillor Pasternak wants to hold that. Fine and dandy. Okay. So that then brings us back to the beginning. And we had on item 36.1, Vision Zero Road Safety Plan accelerations and contract amendments, one deputation, and that is Hamish Wilson. Good morning, Mr. Wilson. Thanks for being here. And you know the rules. You have 5 minutes, and over to you.
Yes, good morning, and thanks for everybody being here and hauling in. And I'm pretty pleased that you're taking this Vision Zero and the road safety pretty seriously, because quite honestly, it is a really serious problem for everyone within the city. Now, it's a very complicated thing to try and change the momentum of a system. There are so many vehicles, the momentum of our roads, how they've been designed, the momentum of all the drivers coming in, and we haven't actually invested in enough transit to really have better options for people. So it's not simple, and it's not necessarily so quick and cheap and easy to do things, although again, lowering speed limits, that's a really good thing, and enforcement, especially if we move beyond the residential areas to lower the speed limits on the larger arterials. I think that would be along with enforcement. You may have noted that the BBC did a story on cycling safety in the city, and just recently, and we didn't fare well. It's not the first time that we've had global exposure. There was a Bikes versus Cars movie from documentary from maybe 3 years ago. Maybe you've never even heard of it. It's always possible. So I'm pleased that you're starting to really put momentum into this, but at the same time it feels that you're throwing money at the problem a bit more before an election rather than really taking it that seriously. Pardon me. It does seem a little less planned than reactive. Because I don't think we tend to do the planning except in the 4-year cycles, pardon me. Because here's something, I know some of you have seen this before. This was a plan from 1992, route selection for on-street bicycle lanes. Bloor Danforth got to be the #1 best place. For me, this is a long-standing issue. Bike lanes proposed for Toronto. We'd have something in the west, the Victoria Park in the east by 1995. Clearly that hasn't happened. The bike plan of 2001, which way up? This way up. I've modified my copy a little bit to see a long, straight east-west corridor. We tend to have a patchwork rather than a single connected, smooth, safe east-west network. And we need the east-west in the core, and it's very difficult on other streets because of the streetcar tracks, and more about that later. But there's one segment of the bike plan that hasn't been done yet between Bloor Street, on Bloor Street East between Church and Sherbourne. So if you're at all serious about this, I really think you need to do something this year, this season, right now, on changing that bit of road there between on Bloor Street East between Sherbourne and Church. This would be a rough schematic, not to use 2 4-letter words of bike lanes, but this is a compromise of merely doing a wider curb lane, consistent curb lane, with removing the parking on the north side of the street from Sherbourne over to Church, and 24-hour parking on the south, giving consistent lane widths. There's a real problem in that this is one of the more persistent, nasty gaps on Bloor Danforth. You've got the long-standing viaduct bike lanes, and then you're just tossed into a nasty gauntlet. And if any of you bike, you should try doing this. It's just a nasty, nasty, dangerous. So notice of hazard, not just the traffic, but the road condition, especially from Sherbourne over to the top of Jarvis. This could be done very easily, I think. Suggestion of motion. Council approve the removal of north side on-street parking on Bloor Street East between Sherbourne and Church, and the conversion of south side parking to 24-hour parking, and the restriping of this road for increased bike safety through wider and consistent width curb, quote-unquote, lanes, along with some repaving where cyclists travel. Exact details to be confirmed with staff and the local councillor with as immediate doing as possible. It's only $25,000 a kilometre to repaint a lane line. Repaint lane lines for bike lanes, and you've only had 25 years. Gosh darn. So great you're spending money, but this is so necessary and overdue, and it's not merely about bike safety, it's about transit relief. Notice of hazard, you have issues with Bloor and Danforth subway, you have issues at the Bloor-Yonge interchange, it's overload. This is as cheap and as easy, as quick a way of actually relieving the transit pressures as you can possibly get. And if you provide safety and smoothness, some people are going to bike. In London, England, where they get this, Let's see, I have it here somewhere. Transportation for London, they found that they could get about 10%, up to 10% of relief on the Victoria Embankment line. I've nudged the TTC on this for a few years. They seem to be rather slow on getting things too. So this is something you could do right now for subway relief, and it should have been done a few years back. I think there's the Transport for London, up to 10%. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your deputation, and see if there are any questions for you. All right, hearing none, I will thank you very much, Mr. Wilson, for being with us this morning. Are there questions of staff on this item? Okay, I want to just say thank you to the staff, because they've taken a council decision and pretty quickly turned it around into what I think is a very practical, doable list. And notwithstanding, with respect to Mr. Wilson's comments, there's a very specific list of things that will be done with this money, and people can go out and see it every day of the week and see intersections being modified, paint work being done, signals being installed, and I think it's a work that will continue through the rest of the year, and I think that's a step forward. So I'll call the question on the item then, unless there are any speakers. I'm sorry, yes, for sure. I'm sorry, Councillor Robinson.
We started this just 4 years ago at the beginning of this term, and I know that certainly the numbers aren't where we would like to be this year, but last year deaths on our roads were down 18%. And unfortunately, the way it was reported by some of the media outlets was including expressways like the 401, which we all know we have no jurisdiction over. So in 2017, we did a little better, but let's just remember that Vision Zero was really launched by Council in January of 2017, and here we are halfway through 2018, and we're just rolling it out. Unlike Sweden, and who's been at it more than 20 years and still, unfortunately, experiences deaths on its streets. So we have a long way to go, but this is another commitment to accelerating this plan, which has now been accelerated in less than 18 months 4 times. And the commitment that the mayor's recently made, along with the budget chief, have now brought the dollars up way above $100 million. So this is a major investment in the roads and safety in our city for all our vulnerable users. The work that staff have done on rolling out senior safety zones, which we see now all over our city. We see school safety zones, which we launched last September. Now we're actually expanding those into community safety zones, and we just go on and on. So all the E's that are part of Vision Zero are being achieved slowly. Unfortunately, we're still experiencing deaths on our streets. So as local councillors, I hope all of us keep an eye on our individual wards to look at what we can do to improve things. But again, as the mayor has stated, this is another great piece of news to see how staff are really figuring out how to do the procurement piece more quickly, but also deliver the services and more effectively and in a timely fashion, and that is happening. So this report, again, in my mind, is a milestone. It's the end of a term where we just were dabbling and talking about a plan at the beginning of this term. It took us a while to get it through the reports written and through Public Works, and it went back to Council and back to Public Works, but we finally adopted it in July of 2016 for implementation in 2017, but we accelerated it at the tail end of 2016 because of the unfortunate statistics of the 2015-2016 period. So a lot of work has been done. I just want to take this opportunity to thank staff, particularly the dedicated unit who work on Vision Zero basically day in and day out. Very committed, very really inspiring to see how they want to change the streets of our city to make them much safer for all road users. So thank you to everybody for your support, your investment, and this is going to be a long road, and we knew it was going to be a bumpy road, but at least we're on that road, and Toronto has a plan, and it's a great plan. We just need to get it rolled out. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Others wishing to speak? Councillor Pasternak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, road safety, pedestrian safety is quickly becoming the #1 issue that's coming across my desk in our office up in Ward 10, which is an inner suburban ward. The cut-through traffic the congestion at major arterial roads and intersections triggers numerous complaints. And this is, I commend staff and Councillor Robinson and the Mayor for moving this and funding this forward. But at the same time, we have to look beyond the responsive strategy and look at some of the auto industry and their approach to marketing vehicles, the speed, the power, and the racing that they embed in all their advertising and marketing, trying to sell vehicles in which the faster you go is a good thing, whereas we're working the other way to get people to slow down. You also have to look at some of the engineering of some of these vehicles and the increasing number of blind spots that are occurring in vehicles and making it very difficult to see pedestrians and cyclists that are coming into sight lines. At the same time, while we can put school safety zones in, the bottom line is that principals of schools, whether they be public schools or private schools, are inherently responsible for the safe unloading and loading of students in the morning and in the afternoon when they're leaving, whether they be dropped off by a private vehicle or whether they dropped off by a bus. It is the principal that is responsible for the safety of these schools, and they must play a more robust role rather than blaming the city for the chaos that occurs across 700 or so school sites in our city. And of course, enforcement, unless there are consequences to dangerous and reckless driving, we're not going to be able to get where we want to be. So those are just my observations, that the industry, the school board, police services, traffic marshals, and so forth, these are all part of the piece that complement Vision Zero. So Vision Zero can't be a standalone strategy. It has to be integrated with these other issues as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pasternak. Any other comments on this? I might just make this comment. First of all, I want to say thank you to Councillor Robinson. She has been a leader on this, and it has been an issue that has been, challenging for us to keep up with. And I think the very fact that there has actually been achieved 4 accelerations means that we've really put shoulders to the wheel. And I previously commended our staff, but it's also had political leadership from Councillor Robinson, and I think we are actually making progress. I just, when I was out and about this weekend, you see now quite obviously the dramatic increase in the number of those speed display signs, the electronic ones that show people how fast they're going, and those are effective. None of these things are effective to eliminate the safety issues, but they're all effective in their own way. I saw quite a few. I was in the west end of the city, of the middle of the street, I call them, signs that are there. I think those are effective, because people do notice them and they do slow down and they have to pay attention to them. You see more of the senior zones. You see the work of the painting that's being done in the intersections. And so that is work that is being speeded up by what we're just sitting here approving today, and the staff have done all the work of making sure they can invest that money responsibly and get it done this year, which was the idea. But I want to thank the staff and Councillor Robinson. Concerns? On one of the streets I was on in the West End, one of the residents, and this is back to what Councillor Pasternak was saying, raised that with me. I was just canvassing door to door, and they said, well, I want to talk to you about street safety. And there was a street with no sidewalks, and it had couldn't have speed bumps because it's a fire route, and those people are genuinely concerned about the speed of vehicles going down their street. And there seems to be none of the obvious measures that have been invoked elsewhere. And then I just want to comment on something I said to the media, because I think it's worth repeating here on the record at the committee, which is that all of these changes, as worthwhile as they are, as important as they are, as constructive as they are, and as helpful as they will be, are not going to substitute for a change in human behavior. And I've said this morning to the media, and I just repeat it because it sort of comes off some of the comments Councillor Pasternak was making. If people don't decide they're going to stop distracted driving, for example, if they don't decide they're going to obey the speed limits, reminded by the signs we're putting up and so forth, then it's going to take us a lot longer to get to zero. And people, starting with drivers, but not exclusively drivers, all people, have to sort of restore that social contract that was in existence, it seems, in an earlier time, where people looked out for each other. Drivers looked out for cyclists, who looked out for pedestrians, who looked out for drivers. Everybody looks out for each other. And I just think that the fundamental challenge in front of us, and there's a very good public education campaign that is coming from the Transportation Department this fall, which I think will really focus on that message. But, we can run all the campaigns in the world in terms of public education. If people don't decide it is important to them as they say, and they truly believe it is, and change their own behavior accordingly, then it'll be frustrating for us to try and deal with this. So I just again want to thank Councillor Robinson and the members of the Public Works Committee for their leadership, and also our staff who've worked very hard on this and have been asked to work hard on it over and over again to implement it faster and faster. And I think they're doing so effectively and responsibly. And I think in the end, that's the test for us. Can we get it done effectively and responsibly? And the answer is yes. They've got a very detailed list of things that they're doing. Is there anybody else who wishes to make a comment? All right, well, on that note, then, we'll bring 36.1 and the recommendations in the report to the question, and I'll ask all those in favor. Opposed? Carry. 36.2 is being held for a deputation. Derek Moran. Is Derek here? I haven't seen him this morning, but... Okay, well, Derek Moran is not here. He wouldn't be happy if I called him Mr. Moran. So I can move then to questions of staff. No questions of staff. Speakers? All right, then. If there are no speakers, I will ask that we call the question to accept the recommendations received in the report. All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry, Councillor Thompson.
On this particular item, I won't ask any questions here, or I won't speak to the matter here, but I will be asking questions at Council and speaking to the matter at Council. I'd also like to ask at this point, in this time, that we ask that the Chief of Police come to Council to answer questions on this particular matter.
I will convey, through the committee, I'll convey.
Right, so I'd like to do it in advance. I don't want police staff. I'd like to have the Chief of Police in attendance to be able to answer questions.
Yes, in public.
Right.
So the request is for the chief to appear, and we might try to help him by timing the item at
Sure,
council.
absolutely.
But I will convey the request through the committee that he be asked to come and answer questions at the council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. So we can note that in the minutes, and somebody can remind me that we're to do that. All right, now I just have this green sheet here which has deputations, but is the next item that we have to deal with? All right, so I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Thompson that the Chief of Police be requested to appear before the City Council at its meeting in July of 2018 to answer questions on item 36.2. And so Councillor Thompson moves that. All those in favor of the amendment? I'm sorry?
Mr. Mayor, isn't this report to receive for information? I didn't think this was going to council.
Actually, that's a good point. I think the report was submitted to the executive committee and isn't going through to council.
Okay, so...
Now, what we could do is have him see if he could possibly come over today.
and hold it down?
We could. Why don't we just investigate that and see if we'll hold it down and see if there's any chance he can come over here today. And we could time it to his convenience. I mean, I don't know how long this meeting's going to last, but we...
I don't think it's going to last very long.
No. Could we...
So what are just a quick question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the clerk. Normally with something like
there is another report. This is the oh yes. There's the report on the emergency meeting that was held between city staff and the police that is coming to council.
Right.
And what we could do, if it's amenable to you, Councillor Thompson, is ask the chief to come on that, which he may well be planning to do anyway.
Right.
We could specifically request he come on that, and then I think probably most of the questions would be in order underneath that report.
Yeah.
Are you content with that?
I'm fine with that.
And then we can just receive this report here as was planned.
Right.
And this one would not go forward to council, but that one does. That one's going directly to council, and are you okay with that?
Right, and the other option, Mr. Mayor, is that, and through to you, the clerk, I mean, if we basically send this forward without recommendation, would it not do the same thing? That the report would in fact be appropriately in front of council?
It just adds to a council.
A long agenda? Okay, that's fine.
That was, I think, yeah.
But Mr. Mayor, the issue though is that being able to ask question on this particular report if the matter isn't actually at council.
Yes, no, I understand. That's why I was saying most of the questions probably could be asked within the context of the emergency.
Of the emergency meeting.
Okay. I think probably almost anything that you could want to ask would be covered by that.
I think I'm fine with that.
I've been briefed on what that meeting was, and it covered, everything on the waterfront.
Okay.
So
that will work.
All right. So then what we'll do on this one is we will receive this. If there's a motion to receive this report, all those in favor, opposed, carried. And we will then make the request to the police chief to be ensure that he's coming for the emergency meeting item, and we'll try and time that so that he can be there.
And that meeting is a public meeting, is it? The
Yes,
emergency
oh yes.
meeting?
It's already, the emergency meeting has already happened between staff and the police. They will be submitting a report directly to council
okay.
on that meeting, and he will then come to answer questions on that report, which will be subject to questions anyway by councillors.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Okay. Where did that leave us next then? It is 36.7 is next. It's the next item that was held for deputations. Okay, and it's the item on additional property tax and legislative change options to support businesses. And Messrs. Miskin and Carew, who we know very well from Tabia, have asked to speak together, and they will be given a total of 10 minutes to say their piece, and we welcome you here. It's always good to see you both. So please, over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councillors. I am Lionel Miskin. I am Vice President of Tabia and Chair of its Property Tax Committee. Council's direction to staff on this matter has resulted in a number of meetings in which Tabia has participated. Those meetings revealed a general consensus on some points. One, that current value assessment is in one form or another here to stay. Two, that the root of the problem lies in the Assessment Act, a provincial statute, but the province has dumped the burden of solving the problem on the municipalities through what it calls tools. The tools have so far proved to be inadequate. Thirdly, the taxpayer should be protected from sudden spikes in tax. And fourthly, that there cannot be a perfect tax system, and the object is to attain the greatest fairness for the largest number of taxpayers. The report for action, which you have before you, I call it the RFA, states that, and I'm quoting from it, CVA is an internationally accepted best practice in property taxation theory. I emphasize the word theory. And when applied consistently, provides for a fair, transparent, and easily understood taxation system, unquote. Well, if CVA were fair, we wouldn't be discussing it now. And it certainly is not transparent nor easily understood. Try reading the Assessment Act, or for that matter, even your tax bill. The report goes on to say, and I'm quoting again, Toronto should continue to adopt policies designed to move properties to full CVA taxation levels as a means of establishing equity in the distribution of property classes, unquote. But we have been trying to do that for 20 years, and there is still no end in sight. Again, quoting from the report, when asked, is fairness achieved when all properties are taxed at full CVA taxation levels, 73% of all respondents indicated no or uncertain. Only 1/4 of respondents answered yes to this statement. Tabia says it is time to think a little bit outside the box. Accordingly, Tabia has concluded that the only way this problem can be solved is by attacking the problem at its root. We do not propose dumping CVA, but we do propose varying it. After a great deal of thought, Tabia has arrived at what we think could be an effective, permanent solution. Tabia proposes limiting assessments, or if you will, capping them as opposed to capping taxes. What would this achieve? One, it would protect taxpayers against huge jumps in assessment on any given property. Two, it would restore an element of certainty and predictability for owners, which is definitely lacking now. Thirdly, it would be administratively more simple than capping tax increases and more transparent. Fourthly, applied to all property, it would avoid the necessity of creating special classes of property. Fifthly, it would not impair a municipality's tax revenues, which will be determined in the usual way through the municipality's ability to fix tax rates. Sixthly, it would partially protect Toronto business from the punitive discriminatory rates which the province imposes through its business education tax. And seventh, it would avoid the shifting of any tax burden between different kinds of property. Owners whose assessments were reduced would get the full benefit on a reduced tax bill. Clawbacks would no longer be required. Ninth, MPAC would continue to assess on the basis of current value without alteration to its methodology or its procedures. And the tax bills would simply show the full CVA together with that portion of it which would be subject to taxation. 10th, revenue loss from capped properties would be made up from all members of the class in the form of a higher tax rate, or across all classes, as opposed to the present system where only some property owners finance the revenue loss. It is to be noted in the RFA that 78% of participants in the public consultation sessions, I'm quoting from the report now, 78% indicated a marked preference that capping protection should be funded by increasing tax rates across all classes, including residential, while 39% of online survey respondents suggested the same. Lastly, apply to all property, including industrial, residential, rural assessment capping could bring many of these benefits to all property owners across the province. Depending on policy decisions, your property could revert to full CVA if it were to be sold at arm's length or if the use of the property were to change, and that value would constitute the base for future capping. Some 13 American states use that system or some variation of it. It is to be noted that the deviation between the full CVA and the taxable portion of the current value assessment would in itself affect the market value of the property. We stress that this proposal is not the California system. The major objection to Tabia's proposal is that after time you could get a growing gap between full CVA and taxable assessment on any property. The RFA refers to this in the second to last paragraph on page 11, where it states, quote, "The greatest benefit would accrue to those whose property values, therefore wealth, have increased the most." The difficulty with that objection is that you are taxing wealth which has not been realized. Imagine that the government imposed capital gains tax on the increased value of your assets even though you've never disposed of them. You bought a stock and it increased in value. Should you be taxed on the increase even though you're still holding that stock? That's what undiluted CVA does to the average increases in assessed value, to above average increases in assessed value. In conclusion, we should be emphasizing fairness and not continuing to subject our tax system to the orthodoxy of full CVA. Thank you for listening. Mr. Carew.
Thank you. I'll just take a minute. First and foremost, Your Worship, members of the committee, we'd like to thank staff for engaging us in this process. We made a similar deputation some time ago, and staff has allowed us to submit our findings and to discuss, and the ability to participate in the public meetings that took place. We look forward to, we understand the process. This is not something that will be resolved by this term of council, but we will be moving forward. So we look to further be engaged in what we truly believe is a very fair, predictable system. And predictability is the thing that business, small and large, are looking for in terms of tax policy. So again, we submit this deputation not only in response to the report, but also to effectively, if you will, have our foot in the door to continue to consider this option as the city struggles with a fair tax policy. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, both of you. Are there questions of the deputants? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the speakers. Having read the report, and I think you addressed the fact that this is a process that's going forward, it seems to me that there will be a need or a necessity for provincial involvement because of the way the structure is. What are you doing now to either open the door at the province and or to have those discussions about the needed changes that needs to be done at the provincial level in order for us to be able to look at a much more fair tax system that would actually not suffocate the very businesses that we need to drive the economy as such?
Councillor, that you used the term open the door, and that's what we're trying to do. We've got a brand new administration there now, so we are trying to get access to present this case to them.
Right, so you're reaching out to the MP?
We are active in pursuing an audience, if you will, with the finance folks to support any initiative that the, well, hopefully the assessment initiative that the city may need to have approved for us to be able to fulfill it.
Right, okay. Those are my questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Robinson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I guess just what's the bottom line on this for you? When I'm out talking to my BIAs, and I have, as you know, very dynamic BIAs, Young Lawrence area as well as Young Eglinton, I hear a lot of stories from independent small businesses on their struggles. So could you just paint that picture for us a little bit on what's happening in our neighborhoods?
Yes, essentially what's happening is people are being shocked by spikes in their taxation. And certain areas, as you know, have become highly desirable in the marketplace, or developers start moving in and buying up property at much higher values. Yep. And if you're anywhere in that vicinity, your assessment automatically goes up because somebody, maybe a very wealthy developer, is prepared to pay more for your property than otherwise would be the case. So the assessments go up and your taxes spike. So by imposing this kind of assessment cap, you would be protected against that very event. And it brings to you a predictability. And that is one thing that is terribly missing from the current system, that you don't know from one assessment process or cycle to the next where your taxes are going to be. Nobody can carry on business properly that way. You can't plan financing, you can't plan leasing, you can't plan investment in your business if you don't know whether you're going to be able to afford to stay in that location come the next assessment cycle.
That's an excellent description of what's happening at Yonge and Eglinton, and even a little bit at Yonge and Lawrence, but for the most part, Yonge and Eglinton. And next week at Council, we're debating the Yonge Eglinton secondary plan. And all those amazing businesses in Uptown, it's called Uptown Yonge, the BIA, are really struggling and I think stressed about what's happening there. And I'm glad the chair's here of Economic Development to hear this, because they really don't know what tomorrow is going to bring because of the very thing you've just described. So thank you for that, for being here.
Absolutely.
And just to add to that, if I can, unfortunately, our success has unintended consequences. And the success of this city, our prosperity and everything that comes with it, our growth, these are those unintended consequences, whereas many of the businesses are suffering. There are neighborhoods in this city where the per square foot tax rate, or TMI, to be fair, absolutely fair, or higher than the market rent per square foot. That's unconscionable.
Yeah.
And as much as we did what we needed to do and we capped taxes at 10%, for any business, a 10% tax hit every year is not sustainable. That will catch up to us. And that, unfortunately, is where we are. So we really do need to fix this, put some predictability into it. I think all business is asking for is some predictability in their taxation requirements.
Thank you very much. And just lastly, just livability of a neighborhood is really the interfacing of the the neighborhood with the street. Would you not say that's an important aspect
Absolutely.
of a city?
I captured that in how Main Street goes, so goes the rest of the neighborhood. And I think we've shown that BIA, certainly commercial areas in this city, whether they're BIAs or not, some were challenged a little more than others, but the importance of the success, the vitality of a Main Street has a direct impact on the residential neighborhood. The single largest investment that we make as folks is our home. And that home's value can in fact be impacted by how Main Street or the local Main Street in that neighborhood is performing. If it's perceived to be half vacant, etc., that does have an impact on the assessment and the residential side as well. So absolutely, commerce, city of neighborhoods, as it's coined, is very much around the commercial neighborhoods.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Other questions of these deputants? Councillor Deputy Mayor Barlow.
Just a very quick one, because my questions were asked. I found that the participation was not very high. Did Tabia, especially on the online survey and so on, did you guys spread the word to get BIA members to participate?
I don't think.
No, we weren't active in reaching out. I think staff, in their mandate, there was a lot of representatives from across the city, different organizations. We both attended one of the meetings, so we spread the meetings across. There was active participation. I think there was some good insight. I think staff was able to draw conclusions. We, in fact, drew I have no problem with the process. To a certain degree, Tabia has also been tasked by many of our member BIAs to carry the ball, if you will, on this item. So we hear it daily in terms of what some of the issues are. We absolutely have a very good pulse of what's going on in the streets of Toronto.
When we did a survey of our membership about, what, a year ago,
Just over a year,
ago, asking them what their priorities or main concerns were, property taxation came up as number one, by far number one.
Next, I had Councillor Pasternak, and then I think Councillor DeGiorgio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for coming. Anecdotally speaking, I seem to be noticing more and more retail operations shuttering with the brown paper in the window, and then another tenant gives it a try, 6 months or a year later. Do you have any statistics to track retail business closures and reasons for in recent years, or is this more anecdotal?
We don't have studies because, as you know, we're a nonprofit organization and very limited funding. So our information is very much anecdotal as well. But John and I spent considerable time traveling around the city and observed exactly what you're commenting on, Councillor. And it is all over the city that we see it not merely in areas which you think have not maybe kept up economically. We're seeing it in areas which are considered to be prime economic areas. So the burden of carrying on a retail business in the city is very, very difficult.
And there are a number of reasons for that, Councillor. We've moved down the road of digital Main Street, and thanks to economic development, Michael, thank you, because we've had the ability of trying to move small businesses in this city into the 21st century. It is no longer brick and mortar where you open that up. It's become a bricks and clicks business out there. So from that perspective, we definitely have to move along in that capacity, and we are definitely doing that to help sustain business in the city. But there are definitely trends. When those vacancies, when that brown paper goes up, there is a trend in what moves in next. Usually it's the gastronomy, the foods, the restaurants. They seem to have sustainability because as much as we can order online, you still have to eat and you go out and we're social animals. So that's what's happening out there. The other thing that's happening is the service industry. The businesses that traditionally were on the second floors, the lawyers, the accountants, etc., the doctors, have in fact moved and taken the opportunity of some of these vacancies to move on to Main Street. As we get gray, as I am, you're not going to walk those 20 stairs to get up to see your doctor or your lawyer. Now these guys have realized that they need to service the baby boomers as that bell moves over across a threshold rather than upset a staircase. So we're seeing that infill, but that doesn't lend itself to a dynamic Main Street. It's that traditional office. There's no window shopping. There's not that traditional Greek volta when you walk the streets in the evening, etc. So we're definitely at a transition, and taxation, unfortunately, is a part of that cause. It's, you can now open up a business in a 1,000 square foot light industrial section and have the UPS truck or the Canada Post truck come and pick up your stuff to distribute it. So we need to sustain the vibrancy of our main streets. And again, as Lionel mentioned, when our poll came out there, taxes were the #1 identified reason for that, and red tape was #2.
Well, I was told recently of a business that closed in the Bathurst to Wilson area in the area I represent, and the rent all in was $3,600 a month for a small retail outlet. And you think of across any industry sectors, you realize how many meals you'll have to pump out, or how many flowers you'll have to sell, or how many chocolate bars you'll have to sell just to cover the rent.
You got that right.
Yep, absolutely.
It seems like a long shot at best.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pasternak. Councillor DeGiorgio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to try and make sure I understand. First of all, your proposal is that we have the Assessment Act changed so that the taxable assessment is only a portion of the current value assessment. Is that correct?
There would be, the way we perceive it is that there'd be a fixed percentage limit on how much your assessment could increase for tax purposes.
Oh, but that's the tax increase you're talking about.
That's right.
A limit.
So if your assessment went up, say, pick a number, 2%, 5%, 10% more than average, then you would be protected up to that limit. And as you know, the tax assessment times rate is what you pay on your bill.
So, but you're not changing the assessment on the...
No, we're not changing
Okay.
the impact. Would continue to do exactly what it's doing now.
Okay. And so what classification of small businesses are we looking to protect? Like, how do we define that class?
We think this would work right across the board and protect all businesses.
All businesses?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that one of the reasons for doing that is that that businesses are being taxed on gains that aren't realized. Now, if that's the case, if the argument is that we don't want to be taxed on gains that are not realized, then what's the problem with allowing some kind of a deferral tax scheme? Because there are gains. Reality is, when do we tax the gains?
The problem with deferral is virtually all businesses are opposed to it because it creates two problems. It keeps racking up debt for them, which nobody needs, and it also makes financing more difficult for them.
Yeah, but if I'm experiencing gains, for example, if there's appreciation in an asset that I own, I don't have a problem with some debt being accrued against that asset if my asset far exceeds the debt that I'm accruing.
I can tell you, Councillor, that the membership we talk to and the businesses we talk to are dead opposed to
I understand
that
they would be
solution.
opposed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeGiorgio. Other questions of these deputies? Councillor Shiner.
I understand the bottom line, which is the cost of taxes is becoming way too hard for some businesses to afford, or many businesses. There. We can cap the tax increase at 10%, or we could cap it at less. You're looking to change the assessment, the way properties are assessed, and cap the assessment? Is that correct?
We're capping the assessment on which you would pay tax. In other words, if you're assessed at $1 million, but that represents, say, a 10% increase over your previous assessment, you would pay tax on that $1 million less 10%. That's how we envisage it.
Okay, so if the property's worth $1 million and it gets reassessed at $10 million,
okay.
your taxes on $1 million were $100,000. We can cap your increase to $110,000. You're saying cap the assessment.
Right.
Well, then the assessments don't make any sense in the near future when you look at them, because it's an arbitrary cap as to what the value is, not based on anything. So I'm just trying to understand the differences that you're looking, because again, we have the opportunity to say, we don't want to raise commercial taxes or business taxes more than 5%, and we can limit our increase to that. We can't cap the assessment, so that's where I'm a little confused as to...
Well, in order to cap the assessment, that requires provincial legislation, of course, to change the methodology. But I'm not sure that I'm understanding the councillor's difficulty.
I'm not sure I'm understanding what I'm asking either.
Okay.
We're all in the same boat. Okay, so my understanding is we can cap the tax increase at a maximum of 10% or less.
Correct.
The property went from a valuation of $1 million to a valuation of $10 million. We can still cap the tax increase as if it was valued at $1 million plus a 10% increase in those taxes.
Yes, you could do
even though it's valued at $10 million.
Yes, you could do that.
You're looking for us to cap the valuation increase. Am I correct?
For tax purposes, yes. And when the property changed hands, if the property is sold or the use has changed, then it would revert to the $10 million that you're talking about.
Because when you're purchasing it, you also have an understanding of what your tax obligations will be at the purchase price that you're purchasing it at. Until then, what we're trying to avoid is a local fella that's on Main Street that's selling shoes, and there's a development up the road from him that drives all the assessments up, and in turn taxation, that he wants to continue to stay in business. Yes, in the long run, he may benefit from the valuation, but right now, all he's looking to do is to continue to sell shoes. And what we're saying is, by protecting that assessment, Council is making the ultimate decision in terms of the tax rate that they apply to a predictable assessment. We're no longer trying to find bandages on what is effectively a lobotomy out there right now to try to deal with the situation. Staff is capping and clawing back and doing all those calculations. All that stuff really gets simplified if we set an assessed rate, and we know that every year, if your assessment goes up, you're only going to go up by a certain percentage. And Council can then fill the gap, their budgetary gap by a mill rate that you apply to this anyway. But that gives us predictability. This year you went 10%. Next year you might go 5%. But those things shift across the city. There are significant booms that are up there. So the biggest challenge staff has had with this is clawbacks. We're trying to eliminate this, and by doing this, by setting that rate, we're no longer going to be affected by clawbacks and having somebody within that section paying for somebody else. This way, it's equal across the entire sector. Very predictable.
Okay, Councillor Shanner, you're finished. Thank you very much. Others asking questions of the deputy? All right. I beg your pardon? Yes, of course, but we'll just thank the deputies for their attendance and for answering all those questions and for all your ongoing work. You are a very valuable source of information and input for us, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for their interest.
Thank you. All right, now we can move to questions of staff, and Councillor Thompson, you had indicated an interest, so please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I wanted to invite the General Manager for Economic Development to basically give his thoughts on both the presentation and then the ongoing complexities and the challenges that are being faced by commercial and retail businesses in the city, and has been stated by Mr. Carew and Mr. Miskin about the impact of the assessment that takes place where you have a small business on Main Street anywhere who is being impacted by decisions that are being made through no fault of their own, that has a dramatic impact both on their business and on their investment.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair to you. This is a very complex issue. I sometimes simplify by saying it's the unintended consequence of impact, the impact of impact. So some of it is tied to the way that they calculate value, so that somebody buys a property within a block or two of an established business that has no intention of changing, but the person who buys that property 2 blocks away creates a huge value uplift because they either have a right to or they get a right to put a much more profitable use on that property. So the condo boom has put huge pressures along all our retail strips in and near the downtown, but now it's stretching outside the downtown. So it's up to Eglinton, north of Eglinton, west on a lot of areas. So because the land value has gone up dramatically, then those properties every 4 years are reassessed and they go up accordingly as well. Even though their use is not changing, even though the services they're asking for hasn't changed, they're paying a much higher fee. MVA and CVA are based upon a principle that says that you pay your fair share of taxes according to the value of your property. And so on that basis, those folks where they're seeing their value go up hugely are thought to have to pay a higher value for the services, and their services haven't changed. And so if their line of business basically hasn't changed, then over a period of time, they are made uneconomic, and we therefore have only those businesses that can afford high rents, such as the big chain stores, and we have a motion that came in front of this term of council about the impact of large chains. We have the officizing, or whatever you want to call it, of retail, since, lawyers can afford sometimes to pay more, or service businesses can pay more, or non-retail uses creep in, such as religious users. So I agree that the impact is huge. The issue is how we as staff come up with some answers to help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that's a great description you just provided, Executive. I think it's a good synopsis, and it's clearly what's happening on the streets of our city. I can give you multiple examples of what you just cited in the Young Eglinton area and Young Lawrence. So what's happening? Would you say these stores are also just sitting there vacant because of this, of what you're describing? They just have there's vacancies all over the main streets of our cities?
So I said it was a very complicated issue. Now we're going to get into some of the other complications. And John referred to the bricks and clicks. So at the same time as we have this booming valuation because of the increasing demand for condos and the value of land for condos, which is much, much higher than for any other use. So we have that trend, but at the same time we have home shopping, which is taking out a little bit of business or a lot of business. And if the retailer isn't moving with it, then it's tough, or in some of the uses which are more commodity-like things. So it's becoming a challenge for all retailers. John's Tabia with our staff have worked on Digital Main Street to try to get smaller retailers to do that. Big retailers can afford that. Smaller retailers have a hard time or haven't got the background and knowledge to do that. So some of that sometimes is due to the landlord starting to charge rents according to the tax basis, and they can't. The store owner, a prospective store owner, can move in. We've taken away the vacant unit rebate, so that's removed an incentive to keep it vacant, which I agree with. So we're now left with trying to find other things. Staff have 2 studies that are about to go in the field to take a look at all of these trends and to try to distill out that. And then, of course, in some of your BIAs, we have dislocation for long-term construction, and that exacerbates the situation. So, and there are very few short-term actions that a property owner can take in those situations. So I think it is incumbent upon the city to find some solutions.
And in the Young Eglinton area, we're seeing nice shops that were once there replaced with, I don't want to be critical, but like fast food chains that are all over basically all over the North American landscape. They're replacing the lovely little bagel shops or flower shops or, bakeries are now being replaced. Is that a trend you're seeing? I've seen that at Young and Eglinton in the last 6 months to a year, and so we're losing some of those great iconic retailers, actually, that have been there for decades.
I think that's a result of the dynamics we've just been talking about.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Pasternak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When it comes to restaurant or the food and hospitality industry, the closure rate of the restaurants have always been notoriously high. Is there anything that you can point to now that's getting worse, or it's always been high and we have to face that reality that restaurants that set up in the wrong location or have the wrong fare or aren't serving the local community are destined to fail anyway, regardless of our tax rates?
Right, I think the comment that Councillor Robinson was making was that restaurants were moving in and displacing other users, and that certainly was an issue that we were having in Parkdale West when we put in a hold. And it's been an issue in many other areas. Restaurants, especially fast food restaurants, often have higher margins and can afford higher taxes. And given the change in eating habits of Torontonians, they rely more on takeout and restaurant food. Restaurants are risky. It's a family business that I grew up in. Luckily, my dad succeeded in his business, but there were a lot of people around that didn't. And the old saying that it takes the third owner to make money is often true in the restaurant business.
With many of these small plazas, it seems that each unit is individually owned, and they're willing to rent it to just about anybody who comes along. And then when you look at these plazas, there's no synergy among the retail, among the food offerings, whether it's business services or technology, and it's just a total mishmash that doesn't make any sense from a shopping point of view. Is that a factor that's come across your desk?
It's one of the things that we will look at in the trends in shopping. It also creates problems for people trying to assemble property to intensify the use, put a 3 or 4 story building on it with ground floor retail. We can look at that in the new, but that's been forever thus, Councillor. I mean, Kingston Road and in your ward, a lot of those setback shopping plazas have always looked like that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Pasternak. Any other questions of staff on this item? All right, those wishing to speak?
Mayor, just one quick question.
I'm sorry, did you have a question, Councillor
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Barlow? Okay, please, go ahead.
Just in a time frame of when we should expect a report back on this item, because there's no date on the report.
Through the chair, we are engaged in discussions with the Ministry of Finance as well as staff at MPAC, and we expect to be able to report back in Q1 of 2019 as part of the budget approval process.
Great, thank you so much.
That's all you have, Deputy Mayor Barlow? Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Thompson?
Just to speak when you're ready.
Okay, so we will move to speakers then, and Councillor Thompson is first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Carew and Mr. Miskin for coming to speak on this very important matter. This is everybody's business to ensure that businesses can succeed in the city. As you've heard through not only the questions but some of the comments, it's a very complex issue because it affects certain businesses in different ways, and some more impactfully, and others creates actually opportunity for them, because if you have resources, when you have upzoning and so on, you can change the space into a condo development, and there's tremendous opportunities for major gains. But at the same time, it has tremendous impact on the overall economy as such. It disperses people, it disperses family business. I draw your attention to an example, which was the area around Front Street and Bathurst a number of years back. You had Harley Davidson, you had a number of other businesses in that little pocket on the northeast side. And overnight, the assessment, impact came in and reassessed the values for those property there. Many of those businesses closed down or went elsewhere. It became a real disaster for many of those retailers and so on. We now have lots of condos in that particular site, but we've lost the businesses. We've lost employment opportunities there and so on. Mr. Carew and Miskin talked about predictability. It's really important with respect to businesses having a good understanding in terms of what the change is in terms of their tax liabilities and or responsibilities will be and are. The fact of the matter is that if you find that there are major increases annually for businesses where their sales is actually not correspondingly increasing at the same level, it becomes a problem. You find a lot of small businesses now are challenged because they are having to pay taxes and pay rent and not making enough to survive. And so this is, in my view, a real problem that we really need to get a handle on, and it's going to take everyone's attention in order to deal with this particular issue. I note that it is not an issue that is just being made today. It's been going on for quite some time. There's been a lot of discussions with respect to how we deal with these issues, how we address the issues around clawbacks and so on. You know, the City of Toronto Act and the Assessment Act and so on has been obviously adapted in such a way to try to address these things, but we know that it hasn't fully been able to do that, and I think that there is a real need to, as staff and finance is indicating, that they'll be talking with the province and hopefully that we can arrive at an overview which will give us a direction forward which will address some of these issues. I don't, for the moment, think that we're going to affect the changes in one step. It is going to obviously take some time, but I think we need to focus the attention and energy on this particular issues now. Otherwise, we're going to have some major problems beyond what we're having now, and they are quite significant problems. When you find most small, medium-sized enterprises in this city are telling you that their sales are not as in line in terms of where they'd like to see it, but their taxes continue to go up, their rents continue to go up, landlords are basing rents on assessment and or the highest and best use for the property, and so it creates a huge problems, whether or not it's at Yonge and Eglinton or other places in this city. And so it's something that we have to address. I know that I've had numerous discussions with the General Manager of Economic Development as well as with the folks from Tabia about how we go forward on this, and I know that they always have some ideas, and I think that we have to take those ideas seriously. So I'm looking forward to the first quarter of next year. If I'm back here to discuss this matter further and or to see the recommendations that will come forward in dealing with this particular issue, Mr. Mayor, because it is everybody's business to ensure that businesses can succeed in this city. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Others wishing to speak? Well, Councillor Robinson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll just be very brief. I think this has been a really important discussion, a great discussion, long overdue, and I'm happy to see staff are focused on this, as I know they always have been, but as we've heard from our staff team as well as from Tabia, that this is not an easy nut to crack. It's a very challenging situation, and so I just want to lend my support to it. I've talked about this before at this executive committee and at council about what I'm hearing from independent retailers that are very, I would say, almost emotional about this issue when you go out and chat with them on the streets of our city, particularly in the Yonge Eglinton area and Yonge Lawrence. A lot of vacancies, a lot of people on the brink of bankruptcy, a lot of retailers really seeing their livelihoods slip away. So the more we can do, the better. And I'm very happy to see that this has been a focus of today's agenda, and I want to make sure that we continue to support this. And I think, again, I'll just emphasize it's long overdue. We need to fast track and accelerate this work.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Others wishing to speak? If not, then I'll just say a word. I have a motion, and we'll just ask the clerk to put it up. It's a motion that is being moved on behalf of Councillor Wong Tam, and you may have seen some correspondence from her. I'm just looking here because, oh yeah, okay. And it will allow us to dispose of the item here as well by incorporating, if you're willing, her direction to the interim chief financial officer as part of the review provided for here and that we've been discussing to give consideration and review to the highest and best use evaluations, and I think it's actually quite a sensible addition to what's going on here. And I will just add to the words, if I can, of Councillor Robinson. When she says it's a very important discussion, it's probably, and I often say this in my own talks with citizens out there who are not necessarily business people, it's the most important. You know, because people will say, well, this issue or that issue is more important, but if we don't have jobs in the city, and we don't have vital, businesses, big and small, then we won't be able to pay for all the other things that we're trying to do, whether it's building transit or looking after the needs of people's housing. And, you know, when it was talked about earlier on by, I forget, one of the speakers and here in the questions, that, you know, we've had some byproducts of the city's great success. But some of those byproducts have been negative, such as the crunch on affordable housing, which we've talked about today and we'll talk about again today, transit capacity issues, parkland deficits. There are a number of negative byproducts, and one of them has been the push up in these values that have made it very difficult then for these businesses to afford their rents. And if we let the impact on jobs continue along the lines of what Councillor Robinson's referring to, then that starts to impact on the vitality of neighbourhoods. It starts to speak to the question of the vitality of business generally in Toronto. And once we start down that slope, it's a very difficult one to come back from in the context of the economic viability of the city. So I think this work is, you know, while it may seem obscure to a lot of people and be of interest principally to tax lawyers and people like that, it is incredibly important work that affects the livelihood of a lot of people who own businesses and people who work in them. And so I just hope, as Councillor Robinson and others have said, we get it done quickly, we get it done well, and see what we can work with the province on. I would think this would be a priority item for the new government of Ontario, because they have indicated a huge focus on the economy and on strong businesses and jobs. And so I think this would be a natural that we would hopefully get their cooperation on. So if there's no one else that wishes to speak, I'm ready to call the question first on this amendment. I've moved to incorporate the recommendation of Councillor Wong-Tam. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. And then the item as amended. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Next is 36.4. And 36.4 was held down by Councillor Thompson. It's the delegation of authority for the remainder of the 2014-2018 council term. We have no deputations, so did you wish to ask a question of staff or speak?
No, I don't, actually. The acting city manager and I have had some discussions, and I'm happy to move it.
All right. So Councillor Thompson will release that item. If there are no other questions or comments, I will call the question on 36.4, which involves accepting and adopting the staff recommendations in 36.4 and 36.4A. All those, do we have to do those separately, or can we do it together? All right, together. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. That next brings us to item 36.7, which is, I'm sorry. Oh, we did 27. Sorry, 36.27. We did 7, right. 27 is actually next, and then 45 comes after that. 27 is, now, Councillor Bailao had asked me to hold this down because she's gone for 15 minutes. So Councillor Thompson was prescient. We're going to move, with your indulgence, to 45, just because Councillor Bailao will be back very shortly. And 45 is the police reference check program. And that was held down by oh, we have a deputy on that. Okay, 45, Miroslav Glavich. Mr. Yes, it's your turn, sir. Please come up. Good morning. You have 5 minutes. You know the procedure, so thank you for being here.
With all due respect, don't call me sir. I'm not that old. I'm only 21. Okay. Councillor, thank you. The one issue I have is for the reference. I just had one because I volunteer for Luminato and other organizations throughout the year. I'm not speaking for any of the organizations. A lot of the organizations will absorb the $20, and many organizations like TIFF and others that have a lot of hundreds of volunteers will have a big, huge amount to absorb, and some of the smaller arts festivals, if you want to call them that, and things like that, have a very small budget. So when you have 100 volunteers, $20 times 100, that their budget is going to go into paying for these checks instead of the actual programming. You know, that's just my main concern. $20 is reasonable, but just think about it, how it's going to affect a lot of these organizations that rely on volunteers. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Mr. Glavich. Are there questions of the deputy? All right, thank you very much for that. Are there then questions of staff on this item? Okay. Just got, we're in need of some of our colleagues to return to the room. So maybe we could just put out a call so before we proceed any further. Up, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're there, okay. Yep, we're good. Councillor, questions of staff on the criminal record checks process? Councillor Nunciata?
Did you ask the questions to?
Of Mr. Glavich or of staff? I'm sorry, I can't.
Who do we ask the questions to? On this report?
Oh.
Do we ask the police, or do we ask our own staff?
I don't know the answer to that question. It depends, I guess, on the nature of the question. Mr. Vinciano is here, so you can ask either one. Do you want to try your question, Mr. Vinciano?
Yeah, I just need to get some background, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. No, just, Tony, I remember when I was on the board a few years ago, we did debate the fees for police checks, but I can't recall. Maybe you can just update us on that. We did move that there would be free for when there was a city request, and some free ones for the vulnerable, and so can you just update me on that? Because I know we debated at one time, and I can't remember exactly what we did and on that particular item.
You're correct, Councillor. We did, I guess, have a discussion around who those fees should be applicable to and whether, in fact, city departments that have the requirement for vulnerable sector checks should be paying for them. I think initially we exempted city departments for that. My understanding now is that, and I stand to be corrected, city departments do pay for reference checks. That's basically what's happening. The purpose of this report now is that the province has actually indicated that we have to go beyond just basic criminal checks in terms of convictions, but also outstanding judicial matters like charges and warrants.
So does any of that, which we approved a few years ago, does that change in this report that you have, or it just remains?
No, all we're doing is adding another level of check.
Oh, okay.
That is basically your basic check plus outstanding judicial matters. Okay. And that's being charged the same price as the other.
So you're adding. Okay, thank you. Yeah. And it's cost recovery? Cost recovery?
Yes, it has to be cost recovery.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nunciata. Other questions of Mr. Veneziano or other staff members? Okay, those wishing to speak? Okay, you're not waiting, okay. Thank you. All right, then, if there's no one needing to speak, we would simply then ask for someone to move the Police Services Board recommendation that the fee be established at $20 effective November 1st, 2018. Is there a mover for that? Councillor DeGiorgio. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, then the last item that was being held down in the absence of Councillor Deputy Mayor Bylaw was number 50, which was the...
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I know,
we're coming back to...
I don't have the motion. No. I held it down. It was held down for me. And
this is number 50, the Brock Avenue...
Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. I had 27.
And we're coming back to 27. We're just trying to avoid doing that until Councillor Deputy Mayor Bylaw. She said 15 minutes, which should be about now, but soon. So we're at 20. We're at 50, and it was held down by Councillor Pasternak. Councillor Pasternak. Item 50, the Brock Avenue affordable housing item, you had held that down.
Yes, no, I'd like to release it. I've spoken with the local councillor. We have clarity. My only question regarding there were no confidential attachments. Usually that's a standard for a property, but we're still in the negotiation stage. It has to come back to council and government management for approval. So I've got clarity on that, so it can go.
All right. Councillor Pasternak's releasing his hold so that if there's someone wishing to move the recommendation of the Affordable Housing Office on this, moved by Councillor Pasternak. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Could we, Madam Clerk, just check on, and I know Councillor Pilo said Mr. Robertson is checking, just on, because I promised her we could start it, I suppose, if she was coming back in 5 minutes, just so that we can keep moving.
There is a motion that Councillor Bailao was going to move on my behalf, so maybe Councillor Shiner could move it, and I can just speak on
Is
it.
that the only reason? Was it held down by somebody else as well?
It was held down for me.
For you, for this
For me.
motion. I just promised her that I wouldn't deal with it until she came back, and I didn't know whether she's on her way, so she'll be here momentarily. In the meantime, Councillor Crawford will do a soft chew for us. No, he won't. We'll just give her a minute to get here, and then. Did you? I think that belongs to you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
In the interim while we're waiting, I just wanted to, and I know that we've already dealt with it, but I just want to review again. On EX 36-2, we indicated that we're going to approve that, which is to receive for information, and that the discussion as it relates to the emergency motion that was moved, that we'll be able to discuss that at council, which would incorporate all things relating to policing, including obviously the action plan, which is part of the transformational work that's being done. Is that
yes?
restating
I think if you look at the council direction to ask that the emergency meeting be convened by the city manager with the police.
Right.
That if you look at the basis upon which that was convened, I think the speaker would be highly likely and the clerk to advise us that it's in order to ask all of those questions because they're relevant in one way or another to what was discussed. So I don't see any problem with that.
Right.
That is coming. That report has yet, I guess, has it been published yet, or is it about to be? For council, not yet.
Right now.
Yes, placeholder. So the report itself hasn't been published, and we have confirmation, by the way, from the chief. He will come to the council meeting as well. So we'll time it in such a way as to convenience him and yourself and others. And but he says he's happy to come. So I think I'm sure we'll be able to.
Okay. Broad
range of questioning that will happen.
All right. Thank you. I was just trying to.
And Deputy Mayor Bailao is back, and so as promised, I know that you were Councillor Nunziata is having you move a motion on her behalf, but I didn't know if there are other reasons why you wanted to hold this item down. But we'll just start then. Are there questions of staff on item 36.27? Okay, then we'd move along to speakers, and Deputy Mayor Bailao would be first. Oh, sorry, Councillor Nunziata. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Just briefly, I know this is a record, eh? It's 20 after 11 and you're finished?
We're not finished yet, so.
Okay.
Don't say that. Something bad will happen.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a problem. I support the recommendations, but in particular, there's one, number 3, 2346 Western Road, which is in my ward. For affordable housing, and we initially had a community consultation meeting a couple months ago, and from that meeting there were issues that were brought up, concerns from the community, and what we did is that we met the applicant and the city and the Residents Association met with the applicant and discussed the issues that they had, and they were able to come up with a compromise and recommendations that all parties agreed to. So on this particular one, I wanted to, and Councillor Bailao is going to move that motion, is that the attachment, the letter from the Residents Association would be incorporated in when it goes through the planning process, and the planning department has a copy of the recommendations as well, and everybody agrees on it. Sean agrees on it. We all agree on it. So basically, that's what mine.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata, and so Deputy Mayor Bailao will look after that for you. Councillor Crawford, did you want to speak?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak quickly to this. I do support the report. I do support the whole idea of increasing affordable housing in the city. But I just want to bring a bit of caution to this report, and I'll give the example of development in my area, 80 Dale Avenue, that is part of the recommendations. I think there's 116 units of affordable housing out of the 606. We sold this piece of, Bill Toronto transferred and sold this piece of property a number of years ago in my ward, and it was sold under the direction that it was going to be a low-rise residential stacked townhouse complex. It's in a very landlocked, small little part of my ward. Anyway, we sold it with that expectation. We got the application from this developer wanting to do a 27-story high-rise development. So far beyond what we had anticipated and expected, but again, they had that opportunity to put in an application for a 27-story and go through the process of being awarded the funding for affordable housing. I've spoken with our planning staff. There's no way this 27-story building is going to be happening at all. In fact, I don't even know whether or not this whole development will actually take place as we move forward into the future, as Community Council has pretty much deferred it for a period of time. But it's just, again, we need to delineate between what we're doing here on trying to support affordable housing, but also understanding that there is a planning process that has to happen. When you read this report, it sounds as if this is great. We're going to be getting an extra 116 units of affordable housing on this particular Dale Avenue site. That's not a guarantee. And I just want to be clear that even though we do support this, that some of these other developments as they go through the planning process may not actually happen, may not materialize, and we may have to look at potentially awarding other sites as we move down into the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Crawford. I think the good news is we have lots of people wanting to build affordable housing, so we'll see how that one unfolds in terms of the planning process, but there are others who want to do this as well, so hopefully that one will happen, but if not, there are others. Councillor Bailo, Deputy Mayor Bailo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to table the motion on behalf of Councillor Nunziata and follow up on your comments, acknowledging the words of Councillor Crawford by saying that yes, there is some planning questions around this specific project, and we moved some motions to ensure the community that there is a planning process still in place for this specific application. I think this would be the only one that is still far behind. I think most of the other projects are well advanced. I mean, Councillor Nunziata's project is another one good example of, we're very confident that now the community is in agreement with the development and the Affordable Housing Office, and that planning really just has to implement what has been agreed between the two. I would like to thank staff, the incredible amount of work that was done with the last call. There's a very high number of units in here that range from 80% to 100% of AMR. There's also housing allowances, which deepens the subsidy significantly on these units. And as you know, there's the national housing benefit that by the time these units will be built can even deeper the subsidy. We are entering in a world where we're building affordable housing more and more this way, where actually the different programs from the different levels of government stack together to offer different levels of affordability depending on the needs of the person, and this is what this program provides in here, is having the flexibility from getting the units built, but then taking advantage of something like the national housing benefit or some of our housing allowances or some of the supportive housing allowances that we have to deepen even the subsidies that some of Torontonians need, and that is not enough to get with 80% or 100% AMR. As we've also said many times, I'm happy that this is the second year that we've approved more than this year way more than the 1,000 units, but it's far less than what actually the city needs. So I'm actually looking forward to the discussions for the next 10-year plan. I think we're all gearing up to have a plan that is much more aggressive and much more in tune with what the city needs on the housing strategy. But I think that we've moved forward on this, on these targets. I think that all different departments that can contribute to getting these targets met have embraced this target. We have people from, Create TO to finance to planning to the Affordable Housing Office, all embracing the need to build affordable housing, and that's how we've been able to produce these numbers, is because we as a city, both on the political side and on the public side, have embraced the goal and owned up to the goal of having over 1,000 units approved. So I'm hoping that when the new targets come in, we'll embrace it with the same enthusiastic, in the same enthusiastic way, and that we can build the much needed affordable housing that we need in our city to continue to attract talent, to continue to have young families living in the city, to continue to have young professionals living in the city, and to respond to the needs of the most vulnerable in our city.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Shiner.
Sorry, so, because I was out of the room for a moment. Councillor Crawford, you were talking about 80 Dale and the problems that we're having on that one. So two sides to this, I would just comment. It's very unfortunate that the Build Toronto site that my colleague Councillor Crawford has now is causing some anxieties, in as much as it shouldn't. When we take a city site, we put it out for sale, and we try to determine what is appropriate to be on the site and work with the community, as we have with every councillor when it's a city site, and it goes out that way. And it's only recently that a few of these sites, because I know my colleague has had some problems. As I said, and it's only recently that some of the sites have come back and had some problems. This one in particular that we're talking about, Councillor Crawford, shouldn't be where it is, because there was an agreement and there was a sale, and recently, just at the meeting we had last week at Create TO, we had to adjust another affordable housing site to add some units to make it work because of their change in funding, and we shouldn't have had to do that. You walk in, you look at a site, you come to arrangements, you make a deal, there's a sale price for the land, and there's a subsidy and assistance the city will give, and that's where that site should go. And it disturbs me very much that some of these are starting to change because they shouldn't have had to, and then it causes consternation with the local councillor because he has a community that was shown Vision A and Vision B shows up. And I'm hoping we can get that back under control. In regards to the program itself and the work that's being done here, and Mayor Tory, the work that has been done formerly through Build Toronto. It was you and I that talked about this 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago when I was on the Build board, and the question I put forward is, well, do you just want to give land to help with affordable housing? Because you can always give land and it'll lower the price. But at the end of the day, if they're home ownership, those houses go back out at market price later. So the benefit of the land is only for the first owner. Or do you want to try and work comprehensively with city assets? And I must say that the work that has been done over the last 3 and 4 years with Councillor Barlow, with Sean in the Affordable Housing Office, and particularly with our real estate, has created 716 affordable housing units along with city lands, and still returned a value back for those lands, sometimes lower than the market value might be, and that money was put into city building, but was able to take that asset and still return cash and affordable housing and a great development and have happy neighbors and happy communities. So I think the work that's been done, and this report has some of them in it, has been tremendous. I think it's set an example as to how we can continue to go forward. And as I think you all know, I'm extremely supportive of finding a way to try and make housing as affordable as we can within the city, within the means that we have. And, you know, you can just look at the bottom of the chart on page 4 of 14. Capital funding request was $9.9 million, but fees and charge exemptions, $27 million on this one report alone. $27 million has been invested, along with any reduction that the city might have had in property value, towards trying to create affordable housing. I think that that is a serious and a wonderful position to be in, and it shows a real dedication to the work of this council collectively to try and do that. And I think we should all be very proud of the fact that these and many others of these projects have gone forward.
Thank you, Councillor Shiner. Anybody else wishing to speak? I want to say a few words. And first of all, I want to say thank you to the staff and to Sean and his team. I think if you go back to the beginning of this term, where you had people making efforts, but the bottom line was we were not meeting our own very modest targets at that time for a variety of reasons, and that included something that Councillor Shiner helped to get us going, which is to get Build to meet some of its targets. And there was a whole combination of things that happened, the Open Doors program and Build making a greater effort and so on. But the bottom line is that it took a little time to get sort of ramped up, but we at least have met and exceeded those targets. And I want to say, in addition to thanking Sean and the staff, say thank you to Deputy Mayor Bailão. Her leadership on this, her interest, her passion for this has been, I think, hugely responsible as well, and that of the members of the Affordable Housing Committee for moving this forward. And I think we've been helped, and I guess there's some, some defense we might have to play here, but I think we've been helped by the fact that we had come on board and back into the housing business at that time the two other governments. And the federal government, of course, came back on board with the National Housing Strategy, and I think Deputy Mayor Bailão was pointing out earlier on some of the specific measures of that. Most of them, in fact, will really not have any significant impact until next year. But I think that it is these are hard-fought gains in the context of the discussions that have been going on, with that government for many years by our predecessors here. The province, again, some progress was made there, and some of that progress was made by virtue of the federal National Housing Strategy and their need to sign on to it. And I think that's an area where we're going to have to make sure those gains are consolidated and maintained. And I think, again, as sort of on the same optimistic note that I sounded earlier on with regard to the changes to taxation and assessment, this is an issue that's very much about the health of the economy. And as I now explain it that way in a lot of the sessions that I go to when I talk about affordable housing and try to help inform people about the difference between that and social housing, because they often confuse the two, and then go on to talk about the fact that, and this was alluded to earlier on, that there are many, many people in the city who work in jobs, good jobs, secure jobs, but the salary for those jobs is not going to change anytime soon, and they fit within that band we heard about on the radio this morning of people who are earning a reasonable income. And who have perhaps, let's say, a secure job, but who are finding life in Canadian cities, including Toronto, very expensive for them. And I pose the question often to audiences, including as recently as last night, if you were making $50,000 and had a very secure job in the city of Toronto, and you were by yourself, you were just you earning that income, think about how difficult it is to find reasonably priced accommodation in the city of Toronto. And the reason I say that I think business is starting to sign on to the importance of this issue is because they understand that they need to have those jobs continue to be in existence in the city of Toronto, and that the salary isn't going to change much in the context of what is paid for that particular type of job, whatever it may be, that those people are unlikely to own a car, they're unlikely to be willing or want to commute 2 hours a day to live somewhere else, and transit is not yet built out to the stage where they can conveniently say, well, fine, I'll go to downtown Toronto and take transit there. And I said that's the economic argument. The social argument is simply the fact that we want the city to include people from all walks of life, all income groups, all manner of people to live in the city. And so that is really what makes, for both the economic reason and the inclusionary reason, if I can call it that, makes affordable rental housing in particular, and transit the two biggest issues of our time in terms of the maintenance of the livability and the viability of the city and the affordability of the city. If we allow the city to be priced out of the realm of possibility for a whole group of people like that are in that middle group of hardworking, employed income earners, many of whom have families, will be very, very sorry indeed, as will the economy be very, very sorry indeed. And so, the dots, as we know, are all connected. The very small businesses we were talking about and their owners and their employees are some of the very people we're talking about who find it increasingly difficult, if not impossible, to find decent rental accommodation in the city of Toronto at this juncture. And that is another byproduct of the success of the city, on the one hand, but it is a problem that stands in front of us on the other. And so I will just say again, thank you to the staff, thank you to Deputy Mayor Bailão for her leadership on this and the members of the committee, and only to say this represents a good first step because, as Deputy Mayor Bailão referred to, the targets are going to be ramped up. Certainly, if I'm back here and I've received a mandate from people to ramp up those targets, and I think they will, because I think they know that 1,000 or 1,500 or 1,600 is not going to be enough for us to make the kind of progress we need to make for economic and social and moral reasons. And so we're going to come back here and have a lot of work to do, ramping those targets up together. So I'm looking forward to that, but I'm very enthused about today and the fact we're able to make this much progress in 2018. So thank you to all involved. So on that note, if there are no others wishing to speak, I think there is the one motion that is up on your screen, which is the motion from Deputy Mayor Bailão on behalf of Councillor Nunziata. And I'll call for the question first on that amendment. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. And the item as amended, all those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. So I think that brings us to the end of our business. 20 to 12. May I? Aside from that snide comment from Deputy Mayorman and Wong, can I just say in all sincerity, I mentioned it this morning at when I met with the media. You know, this committee has, if you think of what's been processed through here and the thousands upon, I think it literally would be thousands of deputations. All four budgets came through here, which are big pieces of work, and many, many other items, of course, that come to this committee. And I think it has functioned well, notwithstanding the comment about this meeting being an example that should have been said earlier in terms of our timing. I think we tried to do the business efficiently and yet spend the time we had to spend listening to each other and listening to our constituents as well. And I think the discussions here were generally, and almost without exception, very thoughtful and very conducted in a very responsible manner. And I want to say thank you to you for that. I hope those who wish to be back here will be back, but I guess that's up to the voters to decide all that, because I look forward to working with all of you going forward. But this, I think, has been and I want to say thank you as well to the Executive Committee staff from the Clerk's office. We had a changeover in midterm, but Josephine, thank you for your efforts, and all of your colleagues for all the help you give us. So unless there's any other business, we will leave you to go about the rest of your business, and thank you very much, and we'll see you, if not before, at City Council. Thank you. The meeting's adjourned.